Welcome to our first episode of Thrive, the show where you thrive.
Woo! Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my first time, so please be gentle. Please be gentle with
I
me.
will.
I'm still discovering myself in
Okay.
this world of podcasting. Um, But thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Like one of the reasons I wanted you to come is because you're an interesting person, right? You're an Ecuadorian filmmaker. I'm gonna watch Siguiente Round this weekend. I'm gonna watch it on Sunday. I'm pretty excited about
You should have watched it earlier.
I know. But if you remember, I asked you for the link and you didn't give it to me. So
I didn't send it. Oh,
no, you
that's
didn't.
right.
Yeah. So it's your
Sorry.
fault. It's your fault.
I didn't have internet since Saturday, so that's my excuse. But okay.
Sure. So let me ask you a question. So specifically about this documentary, I know that you did a couple of years ago, and it's like your baby. Is it now like 2-year-old baby?
Yes, and it's still being called Segundo Round instead of Siguiente Round. That amazes me every time. It's called Siguiente Round, which is translated next round, but every time someone finds a new way to name it, Segundo Round, Último Round.
I'm pretty sure I have called it Segundo Round too. It just sounds very similar.
Yes, it's pro. Yes,
And
everyone.
we humans, we're just like dumb monkeys. We are. So what if it sounds similar? We just like
And
call it
sometimes
whatever.
people post something like, "Oh, here I am with my poster of Segundo Round," and they have the poster that says Siguiente Round, and then they write in the text in the social media. It happens all the time.
So something I'd like you to do is, do you want to talk a little bit about it? Like, do you want to talk? Don't spoil it for me because I want to watch it, but you want
Yes,
to talk a little bit about it, like for the audience, and
uh-huh.
kind of like give us a little bit of a primer on what are we expecting to see.
Yes. It's a good idea. We actually have the link with English subtitles and with Spanish subtitles as well. And it's public in Vimeo.
Oh, so it's free
It
to
has
watch.
been, it's free to watch. We made it public during the quarantine so that people can watch it and stop going out of their houses. So it's public. And the film is about an ex-boxer in one of the most dangerous and forgotten areas from Guayaquil. It's like a slum south of Guayaquil, where there are many migrants from the northern area from Ecuador, from Esmeraldas, and they have these informal settlements where since the 70s or something like that. And there,
What do you mean informal
next
settlements?
boxer,
Sorry.
like slums, like properties that don't have the basic service like water or
Oh,
streets,
like
normal
just
streets.
this like piece of land where they just took over and they're living there.
Yes, they started like building houses, and at first the houses were there are still these houses made of sugar cane,
Mm.
and now the floor is like more pavimentado. How do you say that?
Engraved.
Uh-huh. But
Yeah.
earlier the houses were in the water, like these houses with the sticks with the floats
Yeah.
in the water. Yeah, it's a slum. It's a slum, a very poor area, to say it in some way. And in this place, we met an ex-boxer who was starting to train a couple of kids in some yard that someone had lent him. So he started training them um, with no gloves,
No
with
gloves, so it's
no.
like punch in the face, like with your fist.
No. They did have gloves. They didn't have the thing that they have
Oh, like the
underneath the
wrap.
gloves.
Yeah.
They had like socks instead of that thing,
Okay.
and it was like like a school, but with no sort of formal condition. But
Gotcha.
he had this strength in his way of training them. He was like very strong and very caring also, and he was had this decision or this goal to bring these kids to some tournament. So we thought, okay, this guy has had this dream for a long time to have his own boxing school, because box was for him like a lifesaver, and he wants to do the same thing for these kids. So we started filming the process since the beginning, and how this developed, not only the school, the boxing school, but also the relationship between this mentor and his students. And it's
Wow.
like a father-son relationship at some point, because there are kids who live in a very complicated situation, and box is the way they find to have a new perspective about life and about their future.
Amazing. So basically, it's the story of this guy that taught boxing, and it seems like boxing was very important. You said something like it saved him in some way, and he wanted to like show it to others as well.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
cool.
exactly.
That sounds like
Yeah.
a very cool subject for this podcast, which is thrive. Sounds like this guy was thriving there.
Yes,
But
yes, and we filmed it over the course of 30 months, so you can
wow,
see a very close relationship between the camera, or between us and the protagonists, and in that way our goal was to make a documentary that wasn't about informating, this is informating,
informing.
informing people about facts, but about making them feel what it feels like to be a kid who wants to have a figure to admire and to follow. So it
Wow.
is sort of observational in some way. We made a lot of interviews, but as investigation process, or to get to know them, but not really for the film. The film is more about being there, the camera being beside them and being part of the actions and the conversations that happen naturally.
Wow.
That's our thing. Mhm.
That's cool. And it was 30 months. That's a long time. That's a long time to for a
Yes,
project. That's like half
yes.
of med school, I guess. Like that's a long time. That's a long time.
We ended up with 150 hours of material.
Whoa.
So we had to choose the what the film was about. There were like many ways to tell the same film. We had an idea from the beginning what we wanted to film, but in the process you have to search. You know, at the beginning we didn't know who. We knew El Destructor Preciado, that's the name of the ex-boxer. El
Mhm.
Destructor was
The
the
destroyer.
protagonist, the destroyer. He was the protagonist, but with his students. But which of these students? There were like 50 of them. So that process is also one of the reasons why it took so long, so we could find
Wow.
this strong relationship between them. Mm-hmm.
And how was your relationship with the protagonists? You know, like how did that develop over 30 months?
It was very nice, you know. At first, I think I was like I was maybe the only woman there in the crew, so they were like very protective and very respectful, and it was very fun to be there all the time, and we built a relationship built with confidence in some way. You know, we had to build a relationship over time where you get to spend time together, not only to film but also to hang out or to be with the families. With El Destructor Preciado, we were many times at his house. He has four children. Yes, two girls and two boys, but the two boys are smaller, so we spend time with them, or sometimes we drank a beer with El Destructor, or we ate together, mainly with El Destructor. Uh-huh. And with
Okay.
the kids, they came to visit him. all the time. His house was always open, and the kids came in and out. That he had like 50 sons and daughters. So
Wow.
and it was also a challenge itself. I think one of the things I've learned the most about this film is this relationship between filmmaker and the protagonists, because it's something that you really have to take care of. You know, you have to really be patient and be communicative. Is that a word?
Yeah, that is a word.
So that so that everyone's in the same page. You know, it's a neighborhood where people have a lot of needs, and when you come in there with a camera, it's like very difficult for some people to understand what you're doing. So you have to keep explaining what you're doing, why what you're doing it for, what's your goal. In our case, our goal was to make this story visible, to make people talk about Isla Trinitaria, not only about the bad things that happen there, but also about the good things that can happen when people decide to make it happen, or when people decide to support those things.
By the way,
So
for
that was
people
the
that
idea.
don't know, La Trinitaria, it's the neighborhood, the slum that Valeria was talking about, and very, very dangerous. Like people get killed there, like very often.
Mm-hmm. Yes, at first people, all the time, people ask them, "How do you do? Why do you go in there?" And at first, we had to go in and out of the because La Isla Trinitaria is on the border of this avenue or this autopista, la perimetral highway. It's a highway, and on the side there's La Isla Trinitaria, and on the other side of the highway there is the swamp, El Estero Salado. So, and when you go deeper, it's more dangerous. So at first, El Destructor Preciado went out and picked us up. So with con esas tricimotos, these little cars or moto cars, I don't know
The
how they.
motor car. Yeah, I don't know like how to.
And then he came with us to his house. But then in the last months, it was like more relaxed. People already knew what we were doing. They knew El Destructor Preciado. Everybody knew him. So it was a different situation. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it sounds like you have times where you thought, okay, shit, I'm gonna get robbed right now.
If I had
Yeah.
one situation
Did
like
you
that,
ever like like while you were filming this?
it didn't happen to me at all, but I heard about from Andres, he's the photographer, and from Ernesto, he's co-director with me. They told me about one day they were like, I don't know, hanging out or something, maybe smoking a cigarette or something, and then someone came in like, oh, in a very suspicious way, and then someone from this group of persons said to the other, "Hey, they are from the film. They're from the film, from the boxer." And can you light me some fire? Can you? Oh yeah, great. Okay, bye. But they told me when they approached them, they knew they were gonna be robbed. But some of those guys noticed they're from the film, so let's not do bad stuff to them.
I
So
know
that.
exactly what these people are talking about. Like, there was a time when I was in med school in Ecuador. I was in very deep into rural Manabi, which is like this like middle of rural, like middle of nowhere in the country. And I was going with a friend. He's also a physician, and he's trained in shamanism too. So we were going to a shamanic ceremony, and we went, which was in the middle of nowhere, and two guys. This was like 8 a.m. and two guys come out of a bus and just like they just looked weird, right? Like they just straight up like, oh yeah, we rob people, and then yeah, and then they see there was a couple in right in front of me, and they just start bugging him, like just like insulting him, pushing him a little bit, and he was like he didn't know what to do, and eventually a bus came. They left, and then they saw me. My friend had left for a second to buy cigarettes. He smokes cigarettes. And so they look at me, and if you're in the middle of rural Ecuador, I'm very tall compared to everything else, like to everybody else. Like I'm 6'3", these people are like 5'4", like five, like very small people. And they're looking at me and they're like, oh, like, are you a gringo? And I'm like, no, I'm from here. But because I was like defending myself, like the fear, they smell the fear, they smell the fear. So they're like, okay, you are easy prey, we're gonna like fuck you up. And then my friend comes, and then he just looked, he's also very tall, and I think he knows martial arts, and so he wasn't afraid. And he looks at them, and he just doesn't say anything. He just looks at them, and he hands them a bottle of water and says, you want water? And then they're like, sure. And they take a little bit of water, and then they say, oh, you guys are cool. We were actually going to rob you, but you're cool. It's fine.
You're nice people.
Yeah, you're nice people. Yeah. So I know what your friends mean. Yeah, it's a danger. It's a danger. Like 30 months going to one of the most dangerous parts of a very dangerous, like a potentially dangerous country already. Yeah, that's quite a feat. That's quite a feat.
Yes, yes. An aunt from me, or yes, an aunt. She once told me, "Oh, at the beginning, I saw you going over there, and I didn't know what you were doing. And I was telling your father, what is this girl doing over there all the time? And I saw these pictures of you, and then I knew what you were doing in the film and everything, and I was proud of it. At first, I was scared, yeah, because Guayaquil, it's a fact that Guayaquil is so separated, and that was also the point of this film too.
It's a bubble.
Yes, there's bubbles, little bubbles everywhere, and the idea was to make this film in a way that it could mean something for people around the city, for everyone, so we had, like, during the filming process, also some photographic exhibitions, both in Isla Trinitaria and for example in the city center, como se dice, in the city downtown and everything. And the film was also screened in national theaters, like in the theaters, and also in national television, but also in these open air screenings, which we had not only in Isla Trinitaria, but also in other peripheric areas around Guayaquil, barrios, in other barrios, and also in other cities, also in Esmeraldas, for example. So, and I think that the biggest accomplishment was to make it possible that people would feel connected with the protagonists, no matter what their background is.
I'm very excited to know the destroyer, el destructor preciado. I'm excited to hear more about it. He sounds a little bit like. Have you heard of David Goggins?
No.
So it's this guy, Navy SEAL. So he's not a boxer, but like tough dude. Like tough dude that wants you to be better. And right now he's running somewhere. And he's posting it on his Instagram and telling you, you gotta work. You gotta work hard. You gotta if you wanna be somewhere, you gotta do it hard when it hurts. You gotta do it more and more. Stay hard, motherfucker. And boom, that's his Instagram account every day. But he had a rough life. He had a rough life, and he made it. He became the man that he wanted to be, and he did that through exercise and through running, and he got his discipline that way. And it sounds a little bit like the destroyer. Like that's kind of like what he's teaching the people that are living in this really rough neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're doing another movie, or are you planning on doing another one?
Yes, we have been working on some ideas. Well, we actually finished all this process from Siguiente Round in September, I think, because the film was finished and it was premiered on October 2018. but it took a year to show it everywhere. And these open air exhibitions were organized by us. So we went to these places and we talked with people after the screenings and everything. So that was like a project itself, the distribution of the film. And that ended in September, in like 6 months ago, 7 months ago. And after that, we have been working on some ideas. There is the possibility that we continue working or telling the story about a girl who is also an athlete, and we had the chance to film her for a. We have like other projects as a production company. We have our independent films and also projects which we write, or we aterrizarlos, we land these projects or these ideas and go to specific brands and tell them, if you like this story, we can make it for your brand. So we started a project with a client, and from that we had the idea of continuing filming one girl who is an athlete and who is starting like a process of learning how to listen, because she has a disability, and hearing disability. Is it?
Yeah.
So it would be about a girl who tries to succeed in life by being a rugby player, but also is trying to connect in some way and learning new things and becoming more independent as a woman who has been like always protected by its family, by her family. So that's an idea we're working on, but it's in a very early stage.
Got it. So sounds like another story of self-improvement from a position of hardship. Seems like this is like a subject both in both movies, in both documentaries, right? Like the El Destructor sounds like he was in a similar situation, and she sounds like she is as well, with her hearing impairment and the family like being overprotective. So it's interesting. Like it sounds like this is something that you're very passionate about, the self-improvement.
Yes, I really like that, and I also like the fact of telling stories about this cotidiano, this or these contemporary heroes in some way. You know, everyone has some difficulties in their lives, maybe bigger than others, but it's all about having the determination to reach your goals, and basically to be happy or to do something good for the world. So that's sort of what I like.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that we all have our difficulties in our life. Some of them more, some of them less. But I do agree that if we put all of our energy together into one goal, we can make it happen. And if we try for a long time and we did everything we could, and we just like couldn't make that one thing, I mean, we can, I don't know. Maybe we can change angles, maybe shift goals a little bit, but in the great majority of the time, yes, self-determination, discipline.
And also finding or looking for the people who can help you reach those goals. Because, for example, for me in Siguiente Round, it's about this relationship. You know, everyone means something to someone else, and what you do and what you say makes an impact in that person, and that person is going to make an impact in someone else. And in the other story about Alexis, it would also have this relationship thing where she has a relationship with her mother, but also with her trainers, and together they make something happen. And you can't reach your goals only by yourself, and that's the thing about it too, that you have to be surrounded by people who have the same goals.
Yeah. What comes to my mind in terms of what you're saying is like the mentor-mentee relationship, and I agree. I mean, if you're able to fulfill whatever goal you have on your own, you probably need bigger goals. You probably need bigger goals in your life, because the big things, the the, the bigger the goal, the more you're going to need somebody that is an expert in that field, in my opinion, right? Like if you want to be good at boxing, yeah, you can watch YouTube videos. You can read a book about boxing. Like you can buy yourself like a boxing, like how do you call that thing? The thing you punch him back. You could do that. Taco, is that what he said? Taco, yes. You could do that, but you're not going to do that well. There's no way you're going to do that well unless you have somebody that is an expert there that's going to bring you to their level, or at least close enough that you're going to be able to bypass all the things that it would take you years. It would take you years and years and years to become an expert on your own. People do it. There are some people that do it. But no. Get yourself a mentor. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And it becomes a beautiful relationship. I agree. Yeah. Like if somebody's very passionate about one thing, they want to teach it. Of course, that's what they want to do about what they feel very passionate about. And nothing more like a mentor, something that they would love the most is to have somebody eager to learn what you have to teach. And the other way around, finding somebody that can teach you that thing that you really want to learn. Like it must create some sort of like a symbiotic relationship, for sure.
Yes, and it also will have an impact on the others, you know. For example, in our film, in Siguiente Round, you also get to see a little bit what that impact is, and how someone who receives something from someone also wants to do that same thing for others. And that was also the case of El Destructor Preciado. He received something with boxing, and he gives it, and that's life basically. And mainly right now, where we are all, I don't know how it is right now in New York, but here with all this quarantine and everything, you get to realize how important it is to have strong connections, to have strong relationships, which help you through the rough times. And
isn't it crazy that we're trapped in our houses, everybody all over the world? Well, except for Sweden and I guess Texas. They're opening up. They're opening up some states right now. New York's still quarantined.
In Germany, for example, it's so normal, everything.
They opened again, right? They completely opened again. Yeah, it's so interesting how this virus has attacked different communities so differently. We don't have all the data yet, right? Like we're just like, everything's just a mess of like information, hearsay, anecdotes. Like every day you can watch some new cure. Some people say that you should like take this drug, take that other drug, inject the Lysol into your body. Like who knows, right? Yeah, and then you have places where people don't get that sick. I was watching how Vietnam did a great job. Even though they're very close to China, they did a great job. They were very like, they took a lot of measures very drastically, very fast, and nobody has died from Vietnam apparently.
Really?
I just read that. I think in BBC, yeah. And only like 300 cases, which is kind of crazy. And then on the other side, here in New York, there were so many deaths. Of course, it's a different city. And we really are so densely packed together. Like there's no way you can walk a block without crossing at least 10 people in like at least 10 people in a normal day. And then you go in the metro, like the metro, you're gonna breathe the same air that like 50 people are breathing. Like every 2 minutes you have like 50 more people. Like it's just like the viral load, I bet, like throughout the metro and like the city must have been insane. And
no, here it has been a complete disaster, and you get to notice how the country is also surrounded by corruption and poverty, and everything sucks. It's like it has been a very rough time for Ecuador, and it's gonna be for the next years. So we are all getting prepared for that. You know, a few weeks when we talked, I was telling you about how I found it like overwhelming, all this silence and everyone at home, and all, it was too much for me. But right now, I'm like peaceful at home, and I'm thinking like the bigger problem is it's not the really the virus anymore, or it's not the only problem. The problem is gonna be the next months how we are gonna succeed in with our companies or with our employers or with everything, because it's like been a huge problem, and the economic situation is changing a lot in
Yeah.
every aspect, in public education, or the support for artistic funds, for example. Everything's changing a lot. Hmm.
You know,
Yes.
25% of the workforce here in the US is unemployed right now. At least as of last week, which is insane. And this is like a developed or a developed country in Ecuador, where you just don't have a lot of infrastructure to really push things online on a general basis. Like a lot of people, like the great majority of people in Ecuador, they don't do Zoom like we're doing now. No, they're in there, as you were talking about, like they're in their little houses where maybe there's likely no internet, right? Like they're living in wooden houses, cane houses, and no internet, and then nobody's hiring them. And then what the fuck? Like, what do I do? Like, I need some food. I need some food in my belly.
Yes.
So how?
Yes, and people have to get out of their houses. I get to stay at home, and that's something a lot of people can't do. They have to go out, and they're informal sellers. They sell things on the streets, and they have to do it. Or people who ask for money on the streets, they are still doing it because they don't have another way to get their food home.
Right.
So
Exactly.
people are
Like
going out, and mhm.
no, go
And
ahead.
there's also this huge irresponsibility also on the other side. People who really don't care much, and they go out when they don't have to. And so I think it's gonna last a lot of time here in Guayaquil. It's where the most cases are, and because of how of the working situation here, with all the people who sell things on the streets, on these informal things, it's too difficult for people to stay at home. So
Exactly. Like
mhm.
there's if I need to get food and the government's telling me stay at home, I'm gonna go out find food. I'm gonna go find food. Like there's no way I'm gonna stay at home. Like that's just
Mhm.
like that crazy talk.
Mhm.
If I'm
Mhm.
in such need, and I know
Yes.
Guayaquil has been hit like very hard, right? Like I know New York's a pretty like one of the worst, like the worst hit city here in the U.S. But I think Guayas, which is the province from Guayaquil is from, is like right like close to that, either right
Mhm.
after that in terms of like the amount of deaths in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's
Mhm.
it's pretty bad. I know I
Yes.
was checking out the news there, and like people were dying in their houses, and the bodies were being left on the street because people were not picking it up. They couldn't bury them. It was like it's a mess, like an apocalyptic kind of
Yes.
situation.
Yes. Yes. And also these cases of corruption where you find out that in these public hospitals they're buying overpriced masks, overpriced fundas para los cadáveres, how it's called.
Oh
Like
yeah, like
they buy things like 3 times more expensive than the actual cost. So someone's getting their money out of that, and there have been some people who have been detenidos,
detained.
uh, detained
Yeah.
because they find the way to steal in this situation. It's like amazing how
Yeah.
people can do that. But,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then yeah, right. Like there's some people that are just taking advantage of the situation and just like hustling in a bad way, right? Like you were saying, like selling masks for 3 times the price to family members trying to get into the hospital, or selling like corpse bags like 10 times as more expensive, because there's like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's insane. Now on the other side, there's also like good things that are happening because we're trapped, right? Like what you were saying, you're feeling comfortable with silence.
Yes, and I also, before that, I want to tell you about also this foundation that have been working a lot on bringing food to a lot of people. There are foundations, for example, the Carla Morales Foundation, which has been working since the beginning. They also did it when the earthquake took place in 2016, and right now they have been also working on receiving donations from different companies, big companies, and they give them to a lot of people who are in need. And there are also smaller foundations, like for example, one of Jimmy Simisterra. He's a leader in Isla Trinitaria, and he also receives donations, buys food, and brings them to people, both food that people can cook and also cooked meals. So they have been organizing themselves to help their own communities. So there's a lot of that also, people who are really working to help to help others, and they are constantly receiving donations by natural people, like normal people, and also from companies. And
That's
about
nice.
the other thing, yes, I think for the people who can stay at home, it's an opportunity to grow. You know, I think every bad situation brings something good with it. And
I guess
in
it
this
brings
case,
some. Go ahead.
and in this case, I think it's like finding the silence or the moments that sometimes you don't get to have. You know, we are all so busy making things happen in our career and everything, and you're like juggling with different stuff. And right now I'm also juggling with a lot of stuff, but at home. So it's like it's been something. It's been a very big thing for me and on my personal view.
You know, I agree. I think that for me, like I really agree with what you're saying in terms of like the things that you can do. For example, having conversations with friends. I talk with friends. I have friends and I talk with them, but I hadn't realized that probably since I started med school all the way now, which has been, I don't even know, like 10 years, 11 years, I didn't have a lot of time. I was just studying or doing this thing or doing the other, and then boom, quarantine hits. And then I'm like, whew, because of the way, like I'm still working in the hospital and I still have stuff to do, but because of social distancing, I have less shifts so that I don't meet with other doctors and things like that. And so that if somebody gets sick, there's other people to cover. So like we do like maybe more a busier shift, but we do less shifts.
Okay.
And so that gives me a lot of free time. And it was beautiful. Like for the first few weeks, I was on the phone 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day, catching up with all my friends. I was just like on the phone, catching up with friends. Because one thing is to have a conversation, like for a little bit, like, oh yeah, we can talk for half an hour, or we can go out and grab a drink. But there's something about calling and not having a deadline, like not having this thing. I don't have to sleep at a particular hour. I don't have to like do this thing tomorrow because you know what? I'm gonna be trapped in my house as I was yesterday, and that's gonna be the day after tomorrow. So it doesn't, like, nothing matters. So let's just enjoy this conversation right now, and that leads into like beautiful conversations and just like opening yourself up and just enjoying each other, which we should be able to do even if we're busy. But I realized that this has allowed me to just like sit back and enjoy the other person, enjoy like, yeah.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree. I have been, I think the last 4 years, so so concentrated in making the film and having the company and raising up the kids and having some time with the family that I didn't have time for a lot of things. And this year, when this year started, I was so aware of that, and I knew I wasn't giving the amount of time I needed to go out with friends or to make yoga, do yoga. How do you say it? Do yoga.
Do yoga. I mean, you can make
Make
yoga.
yoga.
You could make it. I mean, if you come up with a pose, I guess you would be making it. The cutting
Or
edge.
to do yoga, and I started the year and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do yoga. I'm gonna start the year and end the year doing yoga. And then it was January and February, and I didn't have the time because something or the other came on the way, and I didn't have the time to make to take the time. And then quarantine came, and I was like, oh my god, what I'm gonna do here? I'm gonna go crazy. And I was like, okay, yoga is gonna be my savior. And you also know I started out doing yoga a few years ago. I think it was your recommendation, a place where I used to live, and it has always been like a life savior. Or it's something that makes me feel so peaceful and so strong and so positive. And so I started doing it, and maybe a week after starting the quarantine, and I haven't stopped since then. And that's something like a change. And it takes time to build an habit, and I think this is my new habit.
Very nice. Very nice. Some people say you have to do something for 21 days, then it becomes a habit. Where are
I've
you
heard,
at?
I've read that it's 66 days. That's
Oh,
what I
really?
read in this one thing book I told you about.
Oh, yeah,
One
yeah, yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
They actually have like a printable version where you can have like a calendar, and you can cross the days that you have accomplished your new habit you want to build. And after 66 days, you are supposed to have made it a habit. I don't know how many days it has been, but I think maybe 40. I don't know,
Oh, you're almost
maybe
there.
more.
You're almost there.
I don't know, but many days. And right now I really need it. And last week I had for the first time I had a shooting. We filmed something for a client, everything via Zoom, and with cell phones and everything. And I couldn't do yoga for 3 days because of that, because the time didn't. I couldn't make it, and I was like, oh, I have to do it. I really needed it. So I think I'm already there.
Oh, that's
I think
amazing.
I've built a new habit. And also the other thing is getting to. I love spending time with myself. I have always loved it, and but I never have the time to do it. Maybe once a week, like maybe a couple of hours. I don't know. But right now it's like I have a lot of time for myself. And to be at home and to appreciate what you have around you. That's something else I have been able to do. So those
That
three things: connecting with other people, building habits, new healthy habits, and connecting with myself, and finding out that it maybe sound like a little bit corny, but that you have everything in yourself. It's all about yourself in the end. You have the even if you can't get to talk with other people on one day, or I don't know, if you don't have the possibility to do that, you can find that peace and that happiness in yourself, and that joy. And that's something I have been connected with these weeks, with myself.
that sounds beautiful. I agree. Of course, I agree. One thing that you just said that made me think a little bit about this is that now I'm spending more time in my apartment, and I am starting to like love my apartment. It's a small apartment. It's New York, and I'm like loving it. But then I realized I gotta make it more beautiful. So for the last couple of weeks, I've been buying stuff, putting in the kitchen. I mean, I wish I could show
Mhm.
you, but now I have all this things that I can put the spices on, just like little things, like the coffee
Yes.
pot I can put in this place, the percolator I can put in this place, the grinder I put in this specific place. So there's a coffee place, there's a tea place. I bought a chamomile flowers because I felt like, okay, if I want to drink tea, I want to drink the flowers. I don't want to be like
Real flowers.
the real flowers, right? Like a man, and I got some chamomile
They're
flowers.
in a pot, or what? In a pot. They are alive.
Oh no,
right?
they're dried, so they're dead. They're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because you gotta dry them. That would be a lot of work. That I can't commit to yet. But I wanted to get like the real thing, like being very mindful about every activity that I do. And there's not a lot of activities that I'm doing because I'm in a constrained space a lot of the time. So I know that I drink tea in the afternoons, and it's generally chamomile, although I had heard that valerian tea is pretty good to you. So I got valerian root. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Valeriana.
Yes,
I
valeriana.
haven't tried the root, but I know that valeriana is like something that brings calm and everything.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to taste horrible from what I've heard.
It smells like shit.
But
it's disgusting. It's disgusting. So I bought it and I put it in this like airtight place so that it can't smell anywhere else. But the process of taking it off the bag and into this place, I didn't vomit, but I struggled. And apparently cats are addicted to it. Cats love it. Cats just get high off of it, and they just like want it. They just want it. So you gotta be careful. If you get yourself some valerian roots and you have a cat, you be careful with that. So yeah, that's been a thing, and also being also very mindful of the things I say, the things I think, right? Like because everything we say, everything we think, it creates an emotional effect within ourselves. If we're mindful enough, we can see it, and just like trying to laugh a little bit, like say like crazy things here and there, just like make myself laugh, and that's something that I'm doing more and more.
Yes, me too. I make myself laugh a lot.
Yeah, I've noticed. You've become this Instagram comedian.
Yes, and that's actually how I am when I'm feeling confident with someone. I'm always sort of serious when I'm around people at work, or I don't know. I feel more secure when I'm working, when I'm sort of serious. But actually, when I'm with people that are close to me, I like to make a lot of fun. And since I can't go out and I'm at home all the time, I get to laugh with my kids and everything, but also sometimes I just have my cell phone and I have fun just looking at the stuff I can do with my face, or the things I can sing or dance, or I don't know. And that's been sort of helpful for me. It's been really helpful. There were days. Right now I'm like a Zen person, but at first I was like, oh my god, the day was so full of mixed emotions. And one moment I was like very woo, I'm gonna make this day work, and then I was like sad, and I was angry, and it sort of helped me to make some fun stuff. And yes, that's something nice I've also discovered over these weeks.
I crack up when you start dancing and cleaning at the same time in this comical, very clearly comical way.
That's one of my favorite things in life, dancing like that. I used to have a dream when I was a teenager, and I always dreamed about going to a disco with my friends and just dancing all night long, like in the most ridiculous way. It was like a dream. It never actually happened. From time to time in every party, we have a moment where we dance ridiculously. But I always wanted to do it all night long, dance ridiculously all night long, but it never happened. So I love dancing like that, and it's very fun for me.
And now who knows when clubs are going to be open again?
When what? Clubs? Oh.
Clubs. Like that's just not gonna happen. That's all you got. You got your kitchen and your Instagram music.
Or maybe there are gonna be like open air parties where you get to dance like 3 meters away from everyone.
Oh,
And like an
doesn't that
open
happen
air
like in
thing.
raves, kind of like
But
yeah,
I
like
don't think they don't have that distance, or do
that's
they?
true. That's true. I could see that happening. I could totally see that
Yes,
happening.
yes.
Yeah.
That would be nice. And
Yeah.
you have to adapt yourself to the new reality. That's an idea. We could open up a business.
But I would hate that would become our new reality. I'm okay with that
Yes.
being a temporary thing, but you know, the other day I was we do a lot of social distancing at work, and so we really almost don't see each other. It's like our coworkers, but we're getting very busy, so we're having to make some exceptions. So now we work, instead of just one person covering the hospital, we do two. And the first time I met again with my coworker from since months, I guess January, February, I don't know. It was Monday last week, and we see each other. We just hug. It was beautiful. We needed some contact, And there's no way I can live in a world where I can't be hugging people. I'm a hugger. Like there's just no. I'm from South America. Like we're physical people. There's just no way.
Yes,
There's no
like
way I'm gonna go to an open air party where I have to stay 6 feet away. I'll do it. I'll do it for a few months. I'm okay with that, right? I would hate that to be a reality. Imagine that a real. Like, what are you gonna tell your children, like your grandchildren, for them to be normal not to touch each other? No, that's great. That can't happen.
No, I'm pretty sure it's temporary. It's gonna take a long time, I think. At first, I thought it wasn't gonna be until June or something, but right now, I think maybe 2020 is gonna
The
be
whole
like
year.
this. And let's see. I don't think it can last forever, but maybe it will change some dynamics. For example, I think right now we had this film, this shooting. ¿Se dice shooting? Filmación.
Yeah.
This shooting where we worked from home, and I was directing from home via Zoom, and like telling people that it was filmed with some entrepreneurs, like a small business, and they were also at home, and I had to show them how to film with their cell phones. Anyone can take a cell phone and film, but we wanted like specific shoots or shots in every for the thing to make sense. So I had to tell them via Zoom how they had to do it and how it works. And on the other side of the line was also the client, and it was a very funny dynamic, and it wasn't the same at all. It was very strange. But I think that's maybe how it's going to work for the next months, and maybe afterwards things will remain different. I don't know if shootings are going to be the same. Maybe they are not going to be so big. Maybe they're going to be smaller. Maybe the client is not going to go to the shooting anymore. He's going to stay at home. I think that all that process is going to change a lot.
What about social interactions? Do you think that's gonna change? Like meeting with your friends for a drink, or like going to a bar or club or like a house bar? Are people gonna do house parties like as normally? Like, what do you think? I think I would. I don't think I would change anything. Like when things get a little bit more normal.
I think eventually everything will be normal. That's what I think, or maybe what I hope for. Uh, Eventually everything will be back to normal, I think. And maybe we will be better in some way, like more connected in other ways.
More connected
But
because now we're at peace with silence. Is that what you say? So we're just like gonna be in silent every once in a while, looking at each other's eyes and say, "You're my
no,
friend,
but
and I appreciate you."
no, but I think we're gonna. I think everyone who has a chance to take some time to think is gonna come out of this situation a little bit better it was before. Not everyone, because maybe there are people who are just trying to survive. But a lot of people, I think, are going to have the time to make this an opportunity to be better in some way. And I think eventually everything will come back to normal, but people will have maybe some better habits or better communicational tools. But I think in the meantime, at first, right now, we don't have any parties, we don't have bars, we don't have restaurants, we don't have anything. I think that afterwards we will have some sort of thing like that, but maybe we won't be able to hang out with everyone. We will have to choose like a little group. These are the 4 persons I'm gonna hang out with over the next
So
month.
you're gonna be, I guess, more discriminating or more discerning about who really is your friend, right? Like you're gonna be like, oh, this guy I kind of know, but I don't like him that much. There's no fucking way he's like bringing his germs to my house. Hell no, he's not coming. So
I
you
don't
think we're
know,
gonna?
maybe.
Okay, maybe, yeah, that makes sense. Like you're gonna be more. You're gonna know yourself more. You're gonna know what you want and what you don't want. And if some of the things you don't want are some people that are close-ish to you, yeah, it's a tough luck. So some people are gonna get pretty lonely, right? Like their friends are gonna be like, no, you can't come home. They don't like you that much. Sorry.
No, that would be horrible. But I think we will also have like other ways of doing things. For example, I used to go to the supermarket every week. It was important for me to go and pick my food. It was important. Also the vegetables. I used to go to a woman who sold vegetables here, and I picked vegetables. But right now, these 2 months, I've been buying everything with an app, and it's just like from my chair, I pick everything, and it comes home. And I think maybe those things are gonna change. People are not gonna go to places all the time, and maybe people will stop moving so much, Yes.
That's kind of like, it's funny that you say that now you shop through apps. That's all I've been doing for the last 5 years. Like I hate going to the supermarket, especially because I feel like it's a waste of time, and I'll start buying stuff I don't need because I'll just look at it looks yummy, and I'll just get it. And
Okay.
so I feel like I'm really inefficient when I do that. And so I think since last year, I've been buying everything online. Like I rarely will go to I will rarely go to a supermarket. Now in quarantine, in fact, I have had to go to a supermarket here and there because things were so backed up here online that if you ordered something, it would take a couple of weeks to get here. And that's not good, especially if you have an empty fridge. So there were a couple of times where I had to go to the supermarket to get a couple of things. But in some ways, what you say makes me think of like technology progressing so much, right? Like maybe in Ecuador, it wasn't that big a deal. Maybe people didn't care about going to the supermarket. They like it like you. They just wanted to pick their food the way that you do. And so now you can. So technology comes, here we go. We can do this for you. And that's good too, right? Because then you're creating more jobs. Now there's a person who's gonna do it, and that person got a job even in quarantine, which that's good.
Yes, I think that's something that's gonna change a lot.
Yeah. Well, Valeria, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's nice.
This was fun. This was